So in this video, I want to show you how to build trust online faster, because in a digital environment, trust is everything. And if you want more people to do business with you, you need to know this. All right, guys, what's going on? Yuri Elkaim here, founder and CEO of Healthpreneur, helping you, the health professional, get clients and build your dream business online. I've said this many times before, but building a virtual practice, an online coaching business, is a lot harder than a brick and mortar practice. Okay? I've said it. Now, does it mean it's not worth it? Not at all. It is 1,000,000% worth it. But you have to understand the difference. When you have a clinic, if you have a clinic or a gym or a physical establishment, people walk down the street and they're like, oh, cool, clinic. I'm going to walk in. Okay. They can find you a lot more easily. That's the first way that brick and mortar is a bit easier. But the big thing is that when someone walks in your door, there's instant bond because you have that physical presence with someone. And that's the big thing that is missing online at this current point in time. And if you can learn how to bridge that gap, which is what I'm going to show you in this video how to do, then you have an unfair advantage that makes a huge difference. Okay. Because it's funny when you have a business online, a lot of people think you're not like a real person for some reason, so they can talk shit about you and think you're just like a terrible person and a scam artist for whatever reason, right? But as soon as you meet someone in person, it's a very different ballgame. So how do we replicate that level of trust in a virtual setting? So let me share my screen and walk you through this. All right. So this is, I don't know if I can share my video on here. 1 second. Whatever. I'm not going to have my little face on the screen here. So we'll just do the best we can without that. So in the middle here, that little green intersection, we'll call that trust. Okay. That's kind of the jackpot we're going after. In order to build trust, there's 3 components that we have to build. Okay. So the first thing is time. Not the spice or the herb, but time. The more time you spend with someone, the more you get to know, like, and trust them. That's pretty straightforward, right? If you think of what's interesting about humans is that it requires a long time before the kids leave the house. Some people, it's like their late teens, others it's their 20s, some people it's later. And if you think about that, compared to most other species in the wild, as soon as, let's say, a baby giraffe is born, it's like, hey, dude, you got to start walking or that lion's going to crush you. So there's a very different nurture process that happens with humans. And that's because we're such social beings. It requires a tremendous amount of time. And because of that time, right? Because of the fact that we have so much time with our kids, or our kids have so much time with us, there is, a level of trust that is probably unparalleled in any other relationship on this planet. Now, the challenging thing though with trust is that it takes a very long time to build and it can evaporate in a second. So time is very, very important. The more time you are spending with someone, and just think about any relationship you've ever had. Do you have more trust with people you've spent more time with, or do you have more trust with people that you've barely even spent time with? It's really simple. So the more time and I'm going to show you how all this stuff relates to your business online, okay? So time is a very, very important factor. The second piece is proximity. And this is why when you have a physical establishment, when people can like literally hug you or be in your presence, that there's something special about that. I don't know if it's pheromones or whatever else, but it's almost like an accelerant to trust when you're just in the presence of someone, and the closer the better. Here's another thing to think about is proximity in the sense of how close you're allowing someone to come into your life. Okay. So let me give you 2 examples of this. Number 1 is how close do you allow people to come to get to know you? Like, how vulnerable are you allowing people to open themselves up to get to know you better, right? Are you always portraying yourself as someone who has their, everything's perfect? Or are you able to open up the kimono a little bit to say, listen, I'm not perfect, I yell at my kids. I have mental breakdowns. I had a Snickers bar, like whatever those things are. That proximity is, again, a different type of proximity than physical presence, but it's in two ways, right? So we have the proximity of allowing someone to see your vulnerability a little bit. But the second proximity is, again, in the case of physical, is actually the difference between allowing someone into your safe space. And it kind of ties in with the first piece there. As an example, if you were to host a dinner party, there's a very big difference between having a dinner party at a restaurant and having a dinner party in your home. When you invite people into your home, there is a level of proximity that is very hard to surpass, because the home is the safe space. It's your sacred area. So when you allow people into that space and you can break bread together, or sit on the couch together, or whatever it is, there's a level of proximity that is very, very powerful there. So that, again, from an in-person perspective, obviously proximity is very, very important. Again, I'm going to share with you how this all applies and what you can do specifically online to replicate this stuff, okay? But the final piece before we get there is value. How much value can you provide someone with? The more value you can give to other people, the more you will get in return, right? So value, not just in the sense of lots of content, but value in letting people feel understood, right? Helping them show that you understand them. Empathy comes in here, content comes in here, just being helpful for people. There's a lot of different ways we can package value, but value is essentially giving people something that they want in a very simple way of thinking about it. So when we take time, proximity, and value as the three factors that will speed up trust, right? And that's why when you look at what you can do in a brick and mortar practice, the big thing in your favor is proximity, right? You will have a much easier time, and this is not surprising, but a lot of practitioners have very long-standing relationships with their patient base for years because of this, okay? Because of that proximity, because of that time, because of the value that patient or client is getting from working with the practitioner. So how do we take this now, and how do we superimpose this with your online business? Okay, first and foremost, this is something that we help our clients with tremendously, and we remind them of, is, and I'll just use this if you have not seen this before. Let me just share my screen. So there's been studies that have been done, and they look at when people are inquiring about a solution, okay? What's going to happen is that there's going to be 50% of those people are never going to do anything, okay? And that's fine. There's not much you can do about that. But there are 50% who are eventually going to buy. And those people are eventually going to buy within 18 months of inquiring about the solution or the service, okay? So 18 months, 1.5 years. Now, here's the thing, is that 15% are going to buy in under 90 days, and 85% are going to buy after 90 days, up to 18 months, right? So these are the people who are going to say yes, and these are the people who are going to say no. So what does that mean? That means that if we understand human nature of why would it take 85% of people to eventually buy from you or do business with you? Well, there's two things. Number one, maybe they're not ready yet, right? So maybe it's not a pressing need now. But the second piece, which we can address here, is, well, I don't know you yet. I don't even trust your business. Are you a real person? Are you a flake? Are you going to be around? So we all lurk in the background. We're all observing what's happening. And the longer you are able to nurture your audience, the more trust you will build with them. And that's why 85% of people are going to do business with you, or more likely to do business with you after 90 days. So 90 days to 18 months. That's where the vast majority of your business is going to be. Okay? So that, in the world of marketing, people talk about the money is in the long tail, right? More or less what that means is the money is on the back end. So if you have people coming in now, great. That 1,000 leads come in this week, Great. Don't expect anywhere close to more than a few percent of them to even be ready to do business with you now. And this goes back into how you market even on the front end, right? Because the better you market, the less you have to sell. What you want to do with your marketing is eventually get to a point where you don't even have to sell. People are just like, I've been following you for years. How do I get started? And that's why, and I've said this before, the number one thing that's going to help determine your success is longevity. If you play the game long enough, you will win because of this time factor. I've been in business online since 2006, right? So we've got people that are working with us now who, not a lot of them, but some of them knew me from way back in the day. Maybe they purchased one of my workouts 15 years ago. I don't know. Some of them have. Most of them haven't, but they've seen me around. And a lot of our clients haven't seen me before, right? They saw a Facebook ad. They came into our world. Some of them like, this makes sense right away. Others took a bit more time. So time is super important because of this factor. So with our clients, we spend a lot of time helping them understand that even though you've got a perfect client pipeline, which is amazing and can get more people coming in now, the vast majority of your revenue will come in the back end, the nurture, how you nurture these people. And that's not going to happen in 30 days. You got to play the long game here. What's the game plan? Like for me and my YouTube channel, we've, as of this recording, 2,300 subscribers. My other YouTube channel has, or there's a plaque up here somewhere from YouTube there, 300,000. So for me, like that's my other business that I sold, but I don't do YouTube now because I need YouTube now. Like I could care less. Like I think we've enrolled a few clients from organic YouTube. Does that mean it's a waste of time? Yes, if my business relies solely on YouTube, but I'm building YouTube for 10 years down the road where we will have tens of millions of followers on one of the biggest brands on the planet. That's my goal. That's the game I'm playing. And I would strongly recommend that you don't rely on strategies that take a long time to come to fruition for short-term results. If you're expecting free organic to produce short-term results, buckle up, okay? It's gonna take a long time. So you have to change your time horizon. You have to play this game for a long time. So that's the first piece is time. The second piece is proximity, right? So if we go back to our 3 factors here, the second piece is proximity. How do you replicate proximity in a digital format? Well, really the easiest way, and I'm going to just put live events aside because you can certainly do live events, when things open up eventually. For sure, that's definitely going to help. That's something that we've done from the get-go of Healthpreneur. But let's say that we can't do that and you have no intention of doing that. The easiest way to build proximity is by doing Zoom or video like this. Because even though we can't touch each other, or technically we might be hundreds or thousands of miles away from each other, there's a level of proximity that happens when you're on video that is not replicated when you're on the phone. And it's certainly not replicated when you're reading someone's blog article or seeing just a post of theirs on Instagram. So I would recommend that if you can get comfortable, and this is, again, I've mentioned this before and I talk about this with our clients, the number one skill you have to develop is communication. The ability to communicate a message, and especially in a video format in a digital world, is massively important. If you can't do that, please put in the time to start learning how. And how do you learn? Well, you press record and you go. And that's it. I feel comfortable on video. I love doing it, but I've done it. I don't even know how many. I must have shot between products and free content over the years, easily more than 10,000 videos, easily, okay? 10,000 hours, 10,000 reps, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to become masterful after doing this once or twice, okay? So when you're able to be on video more often with your prospects, even with your clients, that's very important, right? So you have that visual proximity at the very minimum. So that's how you create proximity in terms of your audience, is being on video more often. And this is one thing. This is me to many, like in a very unilateral fashion. But what's even better is if like all of our calls for the most part are group coaching. So we have Zoom and all of our clients, whoever's on those calls, are on Zoom video as well. So I feel like I know all of my clients as if I've just hung out with them in person, even though many of them I've never met in person. So when you can do Zoom video, like group videos like that, it's awesome. It feels like there's a sense of proximity that is really shocking and quite shockingly good. And what's interesting, even with our team, is I had to stop and think about this. Most of our team hasn't met each other in person, although it feels like we're best friends. And it's because we've got a very good communication cadence with a lot of video like this, where everyone's interacting. And it makes a huge difference. So time is very important. Just being consistently in front of your audience, proximity, adding, just doing more video. I think it's huge. The other thing too to think about with proximity is podcasting, I think, has its place. Because podcasting, if you're going for a walk, you got someone on your headphones, there's a level of intimacy there that's very, very powerful. So I think, again, playing the long game, any kind of audio, like a podcast, can be very powerful. Now, I'm not saying start a podcast. I'm saying if you have one, great. And if you do want to start a podcast, amazing. Don't expect to have 1 million downloads in the first year. I don't even know how many downloads I have. And quite honestly, I don't even care. Okay. So those are the two pieces. Then final piece is value. So value is very straightforward, is how do you create value in people's lives? There's a lot of different ways of doing this, but if we think of value as the content you share, okay, it doesn't have to be how to. I think you can probably find most of what's in my brain on YouTube. And I'm continuing to do this, right? Just putting more stuff out there because I want to be as helpful as possible to as many people as possible. And, value, here's the thing about value. Value is an extraction game, right? The reason I don't mind putting out some of my best stuff up on YouTube is because if I've got thousands of videos there, what's the likelihood that someone's going to take all that stuff and go crazy and build a $1 million business with it? If they do, amazing. But the likelihood is pretty slim because value is an extraction game. And when you don't pay attention. So even if you have the same stuff in your coaching program that you had people pay money for as you do free everywhere online, people will still pay for that because they're paying for the convenience and the access to you and everything packaged in a nice linear fashion instead of having to spend the next decade trying to piece everything together. So value is important. So do not hold back. Do not worry about giving away some of your best stuff. Do not think from a place of scarcity, because if you remember that most people, in your audience are never going to do business with you. Statistically, right? We looked at the stats there. I'll bring this up again. Out of 100 people, right? 50 are never going to do business with you. 15 eventually, but here's the thing too. This 15 and 85%, it doesn't mean they're doing business with you. It means they're eventually going to buy a solution. It doesn't mean it's yours. So let's just say that 5% of your audience eventually decides to do business with you. That means 95% of people you interact with are never going to get, quote unquote, your paid best stuff. So if the only interaction they have with you is your free stuff, it better be good because that's the only impression they have of you. So don't hold back. Don't be scarce. There's more than enough for everyone. And I think, again, value is super important from a content perspective, but also from a bonding perspective. Let people know who you are. Share your opinions, share your beliefs, share your philosophy. Marketing is more about sharing your opinions and beliefs than it is about your how-to content. Okay? It's more about what you believe than what you know. And I think if you do more of that, you're going to be a lot better off with your stuff. And people will be able to connect with that more, right? Than top 10 ways to use coconut oil. So, quick recap. How we build, that's a big zoom in. How we build trust faster online is through time, proximity, and adding value. And what that means specifically is just play the long game. Be in front of people more often with your content. At least email them once, twice a week. Get a Facebook group going if you don't already. Add value, add videos, add content, whatever. Just be top of mind for your audience all the time, and eventually you win. Okay? So anyways, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, just drop me a comment below. What have you found most useful from this? And if you're watching this on the YouTubes, remember to subscribe. Got tons of other videos to help you build a thriving virtual practice. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Yuri Elkaim signing off. Ciao.